Welcome to the Elk Season Podcast, Season 4, Episode 16. Today is June 19th, 2025. We are 71 days away from Elk Season. We are the Chambers Brothers. My name is Harold.
I'm David.
And today on the Elk Season Podcast.
Oh, we're going to talk about elk rut. I had a trip to the Iron Bog here in Idaho, Colorado, and Banning Tents shows up. We have longbow building class, grizzly bears in Banff, Colorado wolves, West Coast wolves, fixed versus mechanical broadheads, ultraviolet water filters, black bear in Middleton, wolf dogs in Yellowstone, public land should not be for sale, and a bear chasing a calf being chased by a cow elk. All that and probably some more on the Elk Season Podcast.
Wow. That's a lot. We really had all that in a week?
Yeah.
Man, because some days we get where it's like, you have anything this week? I got like 2 things.
And while rattling, all that off, I thought of something else.
Uh-oh.
That I was like, oh crap, now I suddenly can't think of it. But
that's okay. Carter Niemeyer. I'll talk about Wolfer some more.
No, there was something. Anyway, it popped in there and it's gone. But if it comes back, it's something that I think is kind of cool, but I can't remember specifically. But that's all right.
I want to talk about the elk rut.
Let's talk about it.
Why am I talking about the elk rut in June?
Well, because what's going on with the weather? What's the habitat food like? What are they doing? How are they eating? And what is that going to mean for that rut season when we get to September?
Right. And so how has our summer been? The forecast for this weekend, the high down here in the desert of Twin Falls is 65.
Yeah.
Late June.
June.
I'm seeing friends in Montana being like, hey, it might snow this weekend. So it might snow in places. Now, I know we've talked about this before, but I like the subject. And it is the green wave.
Yeah, that's right.
When the snow melts off, the plants sense the temperature, the change in temperature, and they grow. And those very new sprouts are so rich and nutritious that the elk like to eat those first. And if the snow melts fast, then the elk only get so much of that super nutrition.
Right.
And if it melts slow, like more. I feel it is this year, like it did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And when it did 2 years ago, I predicted an early rut.
Yes.
When I mean early rut, I mean the 14th, the 7th, I think. Gosh, we got one down on the 8th or 9th. Me and Lance when we went up. Yeah. So that was early in the season.
Yeah.
And they were not bachelored up anymore. They were definitely herd bulls, running cows. So seeing this trend and knowing that we haven't had seriously hot days.
Right.
It's been a very decent summer.
Yeah, spring. Summer starts tomorrow.
It's officially, yeah. So it's been a very good spring. And so I would predict right now that the cows need to put on fat in order to go into estrus, and they need those fat reserves. That's why they need that special green wave nutrition.
Yes.
So anyways,
and that kind of ties into the trip I took to the mountains, because you said, what's the snow look like at the Iron Bog? And the Iron Bog Lake, and then I just remembered what I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
And it'll tie into the Iron Bog.
Great.
So, the Iron Bog Lake, we've gone up there at different times separately, not together necessarily, but one time
we've been there a few times together too.
Yes, many times. But one time I went up there, we couldn't even get to the trailhead because of an avalanche on Father's Day weekend.
Oh, wow.
A snow avalanche.
Okay.
It was blocking the road.
You couldn't get to the trailhead?
Couldn't get to the trailhead.
Wow.
And that was, I want to say 2015, 16, maybe 2017. It was the snowpocalypse year.
Oh, that's right. Okay. That's right. 2017.
So it was that year. And but we've been up other times where it's been cold. You've been up to the lake where it's still frozen over a little bit.
All ice.
Yeah.
All ice. There's a ring of water around the ice that's on the lake. Yeah.
So we went up this weekend. I had a bad back, but I still made it to the lake. Lake is completely melted off. There were actually people jumping into the lake. It was a lot of fun. There's snow on the hillsides. Wow. Not as much snow as I was expecting based on what you were telling me last week.
Right.
So I was a little surprised, but at the same time, it felt like a slow burn still in terms of a slow melt off rather for the snow. So there's still good. I would say good snow. I don't know what good snow looks like up there. Not that I can remember anyway, but there's still good snow up there. It's melting off, slow spring kind of thing. So I think it supports that theory you have.
Okay. But I think the years we were there, because I was there one year, like you said, there's 1.5 foot of ice. And that could have been 1 week away from no ice.
Yeah.
As far as I know.
And it was pretty warm while we were up there, surprisingly, last weekend. But what I remembered is this, and this is actually a tie into Idaho. So I got home we got home on Sunday, and Monday rolls around, and somewhere I came across this article that said, hey, look, there's a new nuclear submarine that's going to be commissioned, the USS Idaho.
Okay.
And they're looking for artwork and photography from anyone in the world, or the United States rather,
Okay.
to have on this. So they're looking for digital photos in a contest. They're looking for up to 300 photos.
Nice.
And they're looking for like 30 of them will actually be printed on canvas and hung in this USS Idaho.
Wow.
And so I have a very awesome picture, I feel. It's not the highest pixelation, but from 2007, I hiked my oldest son, Draven, in a backpack when he was 9 months old, up to Iron Bog. And it was actually in August of 2007. It's crystal clear water. It's a mirror. It's reflecting the mountain, and it's such a cool. So I'm cautiously optimistic, but I was able to load the picture into this contest, and I was able to say the location where it's at and all that. So there's probably a billion pictures of Iron Bog, but this one really has. I feel it's one of my favorite pictures I've ever taken. I think I've shown it to you.
It used to be on Google Earth.
Yeah, it was on.
I used to look at it every time I went to Google Earth.
It used to be on Google Earth.
To make sure it was still there.
back-
You can click on the see the old photos layer.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I think you can still see it.
Okay, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
But if it could be floating around on a submarine, a nuclear submarine, that would be cool.
Wow.
So I get my name put with it as the photographer if it gets in there. And
Nice.
I don't have the website handy. Maybe I can forward that to you.
Okay.
I send it to my son Draven and my wife too. Because if they might have some photos that they like. So it's the photos that are meant to reflect Idaho, anywhere in Idaho that you think is good. You have to have waivers if you have anybody in your images.
Right.
But other than that, if it's a scenic shot like what I had, you just go and upload it. So
Sweet.
Anyway, it was just
Very
kind of
cool
cool to do that. So
Very
I'll
cool.
update you if I get an email saying congratulations. But that contest only goes through July 31st of this year. So you only have about a month and a half
Okay.
left. So
Okay.
Anyway, that was the extra thing.
All right.
So, water, you're looking good. Picture opportunity or picture nuclear submarine opportunity. I kind of wish I would have had that on the list now. Nuclear submarine artwork contest.
Yeah.
Anyway. So the next thing, any particular thing that you want to jump to next? I just, in no particular order, spatted off everything.
Yeah. The Colorado tent. This is just beyond dumb. Just beyond stupid.
I have a theory, but you have a theory, and there's a million theories.
Really?
But
what's your theory?
well,
Let's read the headline and then.
Yeah. We got to set the stage first.
Yeah.
So what's the stage?
The stage was I just found a headline that says Colorado. There's a specific campsite in Colorado that's going to ban tents because a black bear took a swipe at a tent that had children on the inside of the tent.
Yeah. And it says here it's the U.S. Forest Service implemented the tent ban. So it's a Forest Service campground.
Okay.
That's what I would take from that.
Yeah.
So anyway, briefly, before I get to my theory though, there is personal responsibility. You own your own risk when you're in the wilderness,
right?
Even if it's Forest Service land.
They're protecting children. How dare you say that?
I'm not saying we shouldn't protect children, but it's at the same time like
you hate children.
I have 3. I do hate children.
Now that you mention it,
I don't hate children at all. But my thought quickly, because there's a bunch of resources being cut to Forest Service and things. So I'm like, well, if we get rid of the tenters, we have fewer people to have to deal with because we have short staffed anyway. So it's a loose string, but I'm talking to the congressman about it.
It's going to be a difficult to enforce.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I just got here. I don't have anywhere else to stay. Sorry, no tents.
Yeah, so my theory actually hits a wall pretty hard with your rebuttal there. Because there's nobody to enforce it anyway.
Right. There's nobody to enforce it, so who cares? But why are they banning tents?
I don't know.
There's no grizzly bears in Colorado. There hasn't been for more than 100 years. Black bears are looking for food.
Correct.
They come into a camp. Hey, they can't get into your camper.
Nope.
Right? They can get into your coolers or whatever, but they're looking for food and there's stuff outside your camper. If you're in a tent, if there's a tent, it'd be like, maybe there's food inside this tent. Bears are just looking for food.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're not hazed properly.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is part of the problem, that people either they will never understand how they're supposed to act around black bears when they go into the wilderness if something happens, or there will just be AI trail cams.
Yeah.
And there should be, if there's not AI trail cams already, put me down for this is my idea for an AI trail cam that just recognizes there's a black bear and then plays a disturbing noise
Sure. Yeah.
to that black bear. Just recognize it, haze it, have it stay out of the campground.
So, and part of the part, I thought of it.
Have it stay out of my garbage.
Yeah.
You know how many of those cameras you could sell in Montana? In
Probably
Idaho?
lots. But I thought of an analogy to help people understand why this is important. Because if they're looking for food, and this is really going to cater to the pizza delivery crowd here. And so in pizza delivery, like I worked for Domino's.
Right.
No shame. I actually love that job a lot.
I love Domino's.
I miss it. I kind of want to do it sometimes.
I know. It's fun.
You take pizza out of the oven, you put it in a box, and that box goes into a warm carrier.
Yep.
That warm carrier is the tent. Okay. But when you put it in your vehicle, does the tent keep the smell only in the tent?
No.
And what does your car smell like after you've been delivering pizza?
Awesome.
Smells awesome, right?
Yeah.
So think of a tent kind of like those pizza carriers that your pizza gets delivered to you in. It's not keeping the smell away from the bear. So if you have food in your tent, it's going to stink that area and the bear's going to come looking.
Right.
And so a weird analogy, but I think it makes sense in that, like, why is it important to not have food in your tent, to have it in a designated location that's locked, and why they tell that for years and years. They've been trying to promote that. Yeah. It's because a tent with food in it is only acting like that carrier for your pizza box. I know, weird analogy, but
So I keep food in my tent.
Yeah. We've come back to your tent and a bear was approaching it.
Yeah, it was quite distant, but yeah, it was moving in. Maybe. I don't know. But it looked like he was on his way in. And we'd been there for 3 days and had collected a small Ziploc of garbage, but it was in a Ziploc.
But think of the smells.
You're right, 100%.
The smell, and that bear's nose is going to be really good compared to ours. And so,
right. And so what should my procedure be with a black bear? Do I need a bear bag hanging in a tree? Is that proper procedure?
I think there is some updated information on bear bags. I can't verify that because I don't know if we've talked about it, I know if it's been a while.
We have. Yeah.
Because that was what I was always taught. I went into the Bob Marshall and we were like, you go this many steps away from your tent and you put your stuff up in a tree and you hang it there.
Right.
I didn't do any of that.
Right.
Probably should have.
But you had canned goods mostly, so
yeah, that's right.
Bear can't smell that, I promise you.
Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah, so I don't think, bears, people just bears. Oh, there's bears. No, there's grizzly bears and there's black bears. Okay. Grizzly bears are in 3 lower 48 states, unless you count Washington. And then there's 4.
And they're apparently encroaching on Utah, as recently discussed.
But that's it. Only Idaho, only the Intermountain Northwest, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming. That's all and they're not even selling. They're banning pepper spray at other parks.
Yeah.
Because it's not good for black bears. Why can you even buy pepper spray in Tennessee?
Yeah.
I don't know. There should be a different way to haze the bears.
Yeah.
I think noise, and I think dogs are one of the most effective deterrents. If you had a dog, and here's the problem, right? Can I take my dog camping? Yeah, it has to be on a leash. Is that a problem? I don't know. But when bears come in and they know the dog's on a leash, it's not going to bother me. The bears will walk right around.
Yeah, our dog was not on a leash while we were camping.
Right.
And we changed our campsite from campsite A, because there was too many people over there, to campsite B, where there was nobody around, and she got to roam the area, which is
and protect you.
Yeah. Oh,
as an alarm, as an alarm. The bears won't come in, right? If they think there's food, they're hungry, they're gonna risk a lot. But it's a perpetual thing. When we talk about pick it up and put it in the bag, boom, boom, right? We're talking about we're cleaning up the trash because we don't want to feed these animals. A fed bear is a dead bear, and we changed our policies in Yellowstone because there's some scary old-timey footage out of people doing some crazy stuff in Yellowstone, feeding bears and just feeding them through the window and just throwing trash out. It was crazy. And we stopped that, and now bear attacks didn't happen.
I think my favorite story comes from One-Handed Arnold.
Yeah, and old Lefty.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, my favorite story comes from Lefty.
I don't know if that's the same guy as One-Handed Arnold, but I bet they know each other.
Nah, but they're good friends. So So just the way you deal with grizzly bears and black bears are so different.
Yeah.
And there's so much fear around it.
It's interesting to see how different people prepare, and I don't want to take anything away from the people that I crossed paths with on the trail to Iron Bog, but hiking out, it's a very popular trail.
Yeah.
When I went up in 2007, I should say, Vesa and I had little Draven. He was 9 months old, and there was nobody for miles. Like we didn't see anybody up there. They didn't pass anybody on the trail, and it was.
You're going back 20 years.
Yeah, I know.
You know what else? You think about Wisdom in '99.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a different world up there.
Dude, we spent a week there. We didn't see anybody
until we saw everybody.
Until Wildflower.
Until we saw everybody.
Not a soul.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I mean, the one guy who had his pickup truck that needed help.
Yeah.
That was it.
And the people that were on the way in and out were stopping. Hey, where's Wildflower? We're like, what?
Yeah, that wasn't until Friday though.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a week. It was 5-6 days of solitude.
But the thing is, there was a family from Idaho Falls.
Okay.
And the gentleman, I can't remember. I don't know. Names aren't important, but he was packing a sidearm.
Sure.
Okay. But then his lady friend, and I don't know if they were married or whatnot, but she was packing bear spray.
Okay.
So I thought, well, that's interesting. Two different tactics.
That's good. Yeah.
But I'm not saying there's anything wrong with either one of those tactics.
Right.
I feel like one is more effective than the other. But I can't say I wouldn't want to pack one if I knew that there was going to be a lot of bear activity where I was going.
Right.
Sidearm, that is. With the bear spray.
Yeah, I don't pack either. I used to pack both.
and I actually have gotten complacent about my bear spray. I don't even know if I have it on me half the time. I think it's there in my backpack.
Okay.
But I forget about it.
So, Grizzly Dude.
Okay.
He had bear spray.
Yeah.
In his backpack. At the bottom of his pack.
Yeah.
He listed like 10 things he was doing wrong. He knew better. He shouldn't have been doing.
Well,
but pepper spray on the outside of your pack, and he was armed with a rifle. So
yeah, my pepper spray is on the outside of my pack. I'm pretty sure it's an outside pocket. So I don't always remember it. So I need to become more cognizant of it, because there was a time where I wouldn't leave camp without it being on my side.
Right. And there's kinds that they have the chest holster one, kind of like it's right there. But
if grizzly bears move into my hunting area, sure.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I'm not complacent anymore.
Yeah.
Grizzly bear populations have really bounced back in a lot of ways. We've talked about how they're expanding, they're encroaching Utah. There's conversations about maybe returning some to California, but it doesn't help when, and this isn't necessarily in America, but in Banff National Park in Alberta.
But last year on the podcast, we talked about British Columbia saying, okay, no more hunting grizzly bears.
Yeah.
The First Nations don't want to do it. And so if the First Nations don't want to do it, then we're going to stop the hunting of grizzly bears. I don't know how they're going to manage them.
But in Banff National Park, you brought the story of a couple of them getting hit by vehicles, which isn't uncommon here. 399 got hit by a vehicle last year, which was
these were hit by a train. These two in Banff.
Is train a vehicle?
It is a vehicle, yeah. just a different vehicle.
Sorry,
just a little bit bigger.
Just trying to cover my bases.
It was still a Kia.
It's
I don't know. Yeah.
Anyway, but bear populations, they're still sensitive to the loss, particularly sows. I mean, we've talked about that in the Animal Kingdom.
Very
sows.
much. Yeah.
If you kill a cow elk, how many elk are you really killing?
And these were and these were two sows together, so probably siblings. So probably not of reproductive age yet, which is a bummer. But that would just be my guess.
Apparently, the boss, Grizzly Bear 122, was known as the boss.
Yeah?
Was mating one of the female grizzlies that ended up dead.
Oh.
So maybe they chose the wrong hotel room.
Maybe they chose the wrong boss.
They're like, you know what? I have a train theme room. My bad.
Sorry. Too soon. Okay, so some grizzly bears.
I'm disappointed in myself.
And that's all we wanted.
Yeah, I know. Hey, you like wolves?
You know I do.
Dude, we got some wolf stories.
Yes.
So I'll start off with the first one being in Yellowstone.
Okay.
Traffic is slowed down because there's a wolf. And the wolf's like, I think the wolf has a carcass or something.
Okay.
But somebody's got a German Shepherd in the back seat. And
Right.
and if I remember the article correctly, they're like, oh crap, they're trying to get they get the window rolled up, but they can't roll it all the way up because the dog's head is out. So it's kind of like stuck out the window.
Yeah.
And the dog steps in the way, and the owner said that there's a safety mechanism.
I probably can't hear you if your chin's on the microphone. Sorry, you're okay.
They can see me just fine. Anyway, they get the sense of muffledness, like I'm behind a window. I'm a dog from Germany. Anyway, so I don't know what that even meant.
It's a German Shepherd.
Anyway, so the German Shepherd has his head out the window.
Yeah.
They can see on the screen what I'm doing, by the way.
That German Shepherd was was an American citizen.
Yeah.
So
Anyway,
don't go
the
there.
point is,
We'll go all kinds of crazy on this one.
the dog apparently hits the window thing, and there's like a safety mechanism in this vehicle that still allows them to roll down the window.
Yes.
And so it
Imagine if you're rolling up the window and it hits somebody's arm.
Yeah.
That's the safety measure that goes, oh, no, roll it back down.
Yeah,
My
so-
dog has gotten out of my Volkswagen doing that. Just getting her head through and like, and then it would just hit that sensor. Yeah.
So that happened, and this German Shepherd tears off after this wolf. And so German Shepherd 1, wolf 0.
Well,
so to speak.
there was no battle.
No, I don't think there was.
Flight is the safest thing for most wild animals. Fight is a last measure only. And wolves, yes, they are territorial, but they also work in packs. And I don't think a lone wolf would take on another. I mean, with so many people watching, that was on a roadway.
Yeah, dude. So the picture is quite telling. In fact, the more I've looked at it, I realize, okay, the wolf is like, oh my gosh, this again. The dog looks like Rin Tin Tin, if you remember that show. Yeah, He's like, I've got him. Woo! And then you can see this guy. I would imagine it's the dog's owner, who is running behind the dog. Like it's a really great picture.
Yeah.
This is great.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. And I hope nothing bad happened. Animals are going to be animals.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we had Lyra up camping at the South Fork of the Boise River 2 years ago, and we had a deer coming in. We had to chain her up because she did tear off after that deer a couple times, and it was like, oh my gosh, we can't have you doing that. We do need you to haze the deer because the deer was very, very tame towards people.
Yeah.
But I don't. Well,
we had him come in when we camped there.
Yeah,
we had him come in and lick the potatoes out of our bowl.
North Fork, yeah. So
we
anyway,
were asleep. We probably should have.
But I kept waking up in the middle of the night. I was like, "What's licking my plate out there?" And I'm like, "I'm too tired to care." So I went back to sleep. It could have been a bear, but it was a deer.
Yeah.
Anyway, so wolf dogs in Yellowstone. That's what that headline was for.
Okay.
But if we go to Colorado, you had a really cool video, and it brought back memories of when we were in North Fork. And I say North Fork generically. There's a lot of North Forks, but the point is we were somewhere where we heard this sound that they caught in Colorado.
Yeah. So I had gone up to we had backpacked in for elk hunting, and I had gone off to fill up my water, to filter the water. You're like, I'll just carry water up to camp, and I'll because we knew we were going to get there when it's dark.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not very far to water. I'll just take my stuff from camp.
The sun
all I had on me was a pan for scooping water, my filter bag, and a headlamp.
Yeah.
I have no sidearm. I have no knife. I have no pepper spray. I have nothing. And the first scoop of water I take out of the spring to put in my filter bag, I hear wolves.
Oh, I was talking about a different time.
I know. When we were camping, that was the night the deer licked the dishes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so to hear them communicate like that on the move between one another is really cool. But the night that I went up, because I'm not afraid of wolves. People talk all the time. Oh, wolves! Oh,
they surrounded me. They chased me in my house.
Somebody at work was like, "Oh yeah, my husband said he had a friend who they heard wolves and they sat there back to back with their rifles at the ready, waiting for wolves to attack." And I'm like, "Oh, that seems kind of silly," but. Not to say that I'm not afraid, because as I'm filling up that water bag, the hairs on the back of my neck, tingling, tingling, baby,
spidey senses.
So, and I get back and you're chuckling. You're like, "Yeah, did you hear those wolves?" I go, "Yeah, they were practically on top of me."
Yeah,
but that was fun.
I forgot about that. That was up at the plateau, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah,
it was.
Now I remember. Yeah.
And I know, cool. I'm totally like. I'm not worried about anything. I'm so confident. Look at me. I'm going to go get water without a bow, without a knife. And sure enough, You know that feeling you get right after you turn off the light in the basement and you can almost fly up the stairs?
Yes.
That's how I got back to camp.
I'm out of here, man.
Okay, I got enough water. Woo!
That was before the plateau burned down, I think.
Yeah, it was.
Was that
Yeah,
the night that was that? No, that wasn't the cold day.
No.
Yeah, that was different. Sorry. That was frozen and I
We've had
couldn't
a lot of
sleep.
good times up there.
All right. But the West Coast wolves, man, you go out to California and Oregon and Washington.
Yeah.
What did you find out about these West Coast wolves?
I saved that pick because there was some good data on that pick. 75 packs in Oregon, Washington, and California.
Yeah. In
Not
2024.
even Idaho.
Yeah. Just those 3 states. I mean, it's likely that some of them in the Oregon and Washington zone are passing over into Idaho, but
75
that's a lot.
packs of wolves. That's a lot of wolves. Oregon and Washington and California are going to have to come to Jesus on this one sooner rather than later.
Well, and we didn't even address what you got. You talked about the sounds we heard. You didn't even address the video that you got from Colorado. You forgot to mention that. But that's what you.
I know that's where
back.
it all started because there's a guy in Colorado. It's just on TikTok. He's out hiking in Colorado, and he hears the wolves and he just pulls out his phone. He just videos him listening to the wolves.
Yeah,
and it's so cool.
It is.
It's mesmerizing.
And I hope that most people who hear it feel that way because it's nature doing its thing.
Yeah, that's when I want to go into wild places. I want to see wild things and hear wild things. And wolves. Oh, wolves are wild things. And they do vocalize well.
Yeah. Where do we go here? So let's talk. We got 2 more bear stories. I should have tied them into the other bear stuff. So let's go there.
Yeah.
So the black bear in Middleton.
Yeah.
Walking down the street, and people trying to call it back.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. So that hazing bears. We're not hazing bears, right? So circle that back quickly to that. That should have been part of that hazing conversation.
So what is a good procedure there? Let the dogs out? I mean, get a cap gun and make some loud noises. How do you haze a bear? I wouldn't expect to see a bear in Twin Falls. It doesn't mean it won't happen.
Right. I would get in my car and I'd grab one of those fog horns that you use for a boat.
Yeah.
And I'd use my horn and the fog horn. I'd get as close to the bear and I'd try to scare it off.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. How do you haze? You make noise and you make it uncomfortable in your space.
Yeah.
Make it go back to where it came from.
Yeah. So, but in this case, and I know it's different, and I just thought of this, but in this case, you're just chasing it to a different neighborhood.
Yeah. That's their problem. That's their problem then. I'm just kidding.
Well, and this is probably close to the outskirts. And I know we talked about hunting Area 39 in Idaho before.
Yes.
Having many, many bears, more than about 200 bears a year harvested. And Area 39 in Idaho is just northeast of Boise. It's a big area, but there's a lot of bears. There's a lot of bears.
Started a fire under a truck to get the fuel to melt.
Huh? Oh, yeah, we did that.
Biofuel.
But it worked.
It did.
It did. Beautifully.
Yeah.
Beautifully, yeah.
You had a sense of physics that I did not yet appreciate that I now will never forget. So thank you. And I mean that in a very sincere way.
I know.
And it was supported by Les Stroud, who taught me even further how to boil water in a plastic bottle.
Yeah. I had a plastic fuel tank, and I used a fire to warm up the fuel in my fuel tank.
Yeah.
And it worked great.
Yeah. Just nature doing its thing. We talked about that a lot today. A grizzly bear chasing an elk calf.
Yeah.
And that grizzly bear is being chased by the calf's cow.
By the mom.
By the mom. And so it's like, that's nature, man. And I don't know where that's at. It's got to be Idaho, Wyoming, or Montana. Probably. It looks like Wyoming, to be honest. But I don't know. That could look.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. We just have a few left. Let's just say briefly again. I brought this up a few weeks ago. Public lands, apparently in the crosshairs of maybe being shifted around to where we could possibly be concerned about the sale of our public lands. And I like the idea of being a public land owner. I don't know how much of this I need to be worried about, but it's something that keeps showing up. So it's something that I'm I'm keeping my ears open for, my eyes open to, because this absolutely should not and cannot happen. We have some amazing public lands that we have access to, and it changes the way we exist in this country if these things are
it's
not
not just
accessible.
my backyard. It's not just every
It's our
Idahoan's
backyard.
backyard. It's the country's backyard. Idaho is the largest roadless wilderness in the lower 48 is here. As long as nobody buys it. So it's frustrating. There's a big public kickback. I'm part of that kickback. I know a lot of guys are. A lot of guys, and I'm seeing a lot of good podcasts, Meat Eater podcast. I'm seeing a lot of guys come out going, this cannot be happening.
No.
So hopefully that groundswell continues to swell.
Yes.
And it can be quashed.
Keep your voices loud.
Please. Yeah.
All right.
I like all the AI stuff I see coming out. The
Yes.
AI videos. So
We got some gear.
yeah.
So I'm going to start with the ultraviolet water filter. I've seen these before, and I have a curiosity about them that I didn't share with you before. But
Oh, okay. I've never seen one. Although when I went to, we did a tour of the sewers treatment facility here in Twin Falls, and they had some big lights. So I understand that the lights kill pathogens, and the actual instrument he uses, you stir the water, and it measures and kills pathogens until there's no pathogens left or whatever.
Okay.
And, interesting way to filter
and
water.
I think you buy it at Sierra's. I'm just kidding.
By the way, we haven't talked about that.
No, we haven't. But come back
All right.
to that. So, and I haven't been to the one here yet, but the ultraviolet water filter, you stick it in there, it kills the pathogens, but does it filter out the gunk in your water? So, is there a filter that helps you get
Particulate filter.
Yes, particulate filter. So that was all my curiosity. I'm sure it has that. I just didn't see it.
So,
based on the
you know,
images.
where the guy was is kind of like where we go. I mean, the water's so clean.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so clean. Out of that spring, out of that spring in the Ripper, there's no need to filter that water.
Oh, my
we
gosh.
do, but there's no need.
I'm bringing an inflatable pool so I can sit in an entire pool of that stuff.
Oh, my gosh. So, and a lot of the streams that we take water from, it's very, very clean.
Yeah.
And so we don't need a heavy particulate filter.
No.
But the ultraviolet thing looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've never seen one before.
You know, we talked about gear last week about, you know, the weighted arrow trend is dead.
Right.
And we decided when we first brought that up, like, well, our arrows work just fine. There's nothing broken. There's nothing needing to be changed.
Right.
The only thing that I've changed on the arrows to improve efficiency have been the fletchings to the short fletchings,
Right.
but also a lit knock because
Right.
they're allowed now. What is also allowed now are broadheads that are fixed versus mechanical.
Yeah.
And I just haven't been won over by mechanical broadheads.
Right.
And initially, my bias does actually come from my hunter's education from here in Idaho, actually, where the instructor I had talked about how mechanical broadheads, you know, especially if they get rusty because you're not taking care of them, they might not actually do their job when they hit the animal
that's a
and
good
expand.
point. That's a good point. I've had some broadheads for many years.
So
I haven't killed an elk.
Right. So to me, a fixed broadhead is tried and true. And I prefer, you know, the ones that I prefer, the G4, or I think they're G-Force.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're solid and they don't
Right.
have moving parts. I just love those. It's actually Jared who had those initially. And I was like, I saw him on those on his bow when we
Yeah.
first hiked in 2011.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And I was like, I'm getting those. So I am not going back to any other broadhead because of that moment. It's kind of weird. So thank you, Jared. You influenced me for a long time on that. But anyway, so fixed versus mechanical broadheads. This story came up that you wanted to bring into the podcast today.
Fixed versus mechanical broadheads. Yeah. All it says is he did a bunch of computer diagnostics on airflow around the broadheads because, broadheads are aerodynamic.
Yes.
They have to be because they're sharp, right? So they're already aerodynamic. So you're not really losing a lot on having a fixed broadhead is what his take was. And I hadn't seen enough evidence for me to switch from fixed broadheads to mechanical broadheads. If there was something like, if there's some good data, I'd be like, well, maybe I'll try a fixed broadhead.
And I think the best data is the data you have from firing your instrument and knowing how it works. And we have had, the arrows that I set up for you
Yeah.
harvested a bull elk
Yeah.
beautifully. I might
Yeah.
add.
Yeah.
So I have no issue with our setup. I have to just get better at aiming.
Right. Placement shot is a lot. And I know there's guys that like to geek out on every single detail of elk season. And there's certain aspects of elk season I like to geek out on.
Yeah.
But equipment typically isn't one of them.
I mean, I am very specific for certain things, but it comes down to what makes sense. And as we see how it works, if it ain't broke, there's no need to change it. There's no need to fix it.
Yeah.
I mean, with all due respect to the gentleman from Cabela's that talked to me at length about weighted arrows.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
appreciate the enthusiasm.
I appreciate the enthusiasm, but I wasn't really sold on the need to change because the success has spoken for itself. Even though I haven't been successful, my arrows have been successful.
Right.
So anyway, the last thing is kind of cool.
Okay.
And I am very intrigued. We find a date, we have the right time and the finances to do it. Longbow building class.
Oh, yeah.
Hello.
I'll fly to Virginia if I have to.
Oh,
just 3 days, get a hotel, learn how to build your own longbow. I know there's flint napping groups around here too, and I would love to learn how to flint nap.
Yeah.
And I know we talk about archery elk is the greatest outdoor sport in North America, but really, if you could kill an elk with a bow and an arrow and a broadhead you made yourself,
oh yes. Sorry,
that's alpha. That is the end of the hierarchy.
Yeah. The trophy's yours.
Yeah. So, and I would like to try that. And
yes.
I would like to try a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But anyways, it sounds fun. And what are we? 71 days.
71 days.
I'm gone next week. I'm in Mexico for a week. I'm gonna be fishing for marlin.
Very cool.
With a bow? Huh?
Just with a bow?
Yes. I do everything with a bow.
Excellent.
I do most of my cereal shopping with a bow.
Me too. Surprisingly,
some of my
I got some really
whiskeys.
good. I got some really good butter last week.
Yeah. So I won't be here next week. So when I come back, we will be less than 60 days.
Oh yeah,
to elk season.
We're getting close.
Dear God, the anxiety is
the
building
excitement.
already.
It's not anxiety, it's excitement. Reframe it.
That's what it is.
Let's go.
That's
Come
what
on.
it is. All right. Until next time.
Cheers.
Goodbye.
In the morning light, before dawn, bow grip tight, heart beating strong. Through the forest, ancient giants roam, in the land where the wild calls me home. Through the whispering pines and the autumn breeze, driven by the chase, crisp air I breathe. With every step I take, earth beneath my feet. In nature's beauty where the hunter and elk meet. The mountains rise, kissed by the sun. In September, where I belong. Bugles echo loudly through the veil, a symphony of an ancient tale. Through the whispering pines and the autumn breeze, driven by the chase, crisp air I breathe. With every step I take, earth beneath my feet. In nature's beauty where the hunter and elk meet. Silent as the morning mist, I travel on with careful grace. Every shadow, every sound surrounds me in this wild embrace. Challenge and the thrill, the patience and the skill. In the dance of life and nature, my heart's forever filled. As the sun sets, shadows long and deep, I find my place where the memories I keep, the chase and the beauty of a day gone by. Deep in the mountains, my spirit cries, through the whispering pines and the autumn breeze, driven by the chase, crisp air I breathe. With every step I take, earth beneath my feet, in nature's beauty, out where the hunter and elk meet. Here's to